Why do foreign estate agents earn so much more money? Today I'm joined by Richard Rawlings, who is an estate agency guru and coach in the UK, yet he also coaches estate agents around the world. Richard, is the grass greener on the other side? Talk to me.
Well, that is a good question, Chris, and it certainly looks that way with commissions, 4, 5, 6, 7%. I mean, I trained the agents the other day in Cape Town, and where it's usual to charge 7%, would you believe, which I find a bit unconscionable, I have to say, unconscionable. But they were a competitor had opened up next door or down the road, charging just 5%, and they felt under terrible pressure. What are we going to do to protect ourselves? So it does appear that agents overseas can and do earn an awful lot more money, and actually for doing a lot less work. I have to say, we do more work than anybody else in the world, estate agency wise. We have all the nonsense to deal with. In most places around the world, you get a buyer, they sign an offer, the seller accepts it. That is your job done, and that is effectively exchange of contracts, give or take. But you don't have to do all this chasing and nonsense and all the stuff that agents have to do, and you don't have the fall throughs, and yet they still earn many times what we charge.
Why do you think they earn more?
They've got the balls to charge a decent amount of commission. Historically, it's been greater, but don't think it's as attractive as it seems, because in the States there are 8. Okay, they might charge 6%, although that's going to fall dramatically following a big court case because it was unreasonable. But in the States, great, 6%. But there are 8 times more competitors in the States than there are here. And the average estate agent in the States earns about £28,000 equivalent a year. They sell on average 7 properties a year. So, because most of the time you've got to be qualified there, of course. So you'll get one person getting qualified in the street. They're the registered real estate agent for that street almost. They know everyone. They're very sociable. And if somebody wants to sell in that street, they don't make a move without contacting Jenny, who's the licensed real estate agent in the street, and she'll do her one sale a year in that street or something. So we see it more of a career here than they do there. So they're quite happy to do fewer sales, but certainly the fees are higher, and we've been desperately weak. And I think agency fees in the UK are absolutely on their way up anyway.
So in America, you've got a hell of a lot more real estate agents. So their transaction levels, as I said, on average of about 7.
Yeah.
I've looked at some stats and I concur with those numbers because I like to keep an eye on what's happening in the American market. What about South Africa?
Similar model to America, actually. I worked in South Africa for many years, both running agencies and as an agent on commission only. When I almost completely virtually went bankrupt many years ago in the UK when the market tipped at 1989 or something. We just went to South Africa and thought, well, I estate agent to the year award, I'll show them how to do it. But I was completely humbled and had to unlearn the very little I thought I knew and relearn a whole new way of doing it. And that was just fascinating. I became so interested in that. I ended up running 8 or 9 branches for an agency in South Africa and did training for the whole country because I became fascinated in the training element. So agents are much better trained elsewhere around the world because more often than not it's regulated. You have to be. And what's going to happen with ROPA, we just don't know.
That was read my mind. That was our next question. Do you think regulation by its very being will improve fees?
If you said to a consumer, this agent's regulated, they're going to charge you, or certified, whatever, qualified, they're going to charge you 4%. This agent's not qualified, they're going to charge you 1.8%. I don't think they're going to go to the 4% agent.
But if ROPA comes in, everyone's going to have to do it.
It enhances the value of our industry, and there will be potentially fewer estate agents per head of population, and the ones remaining will be those who are qualified, although you can't train integrity, of course.
Okay. I mean, the average fee in the UK has gone from around 1.6 in 2006 that was when the Property Academy published their stats, and they do it every single year, and they interview 10,000 homeowners, and at the moment we're around 1%. Why are estate agents in the UK so desperate to get the listing and pull their pants down on the fees?
It's because they haven't been trained in how to persuade a client. There are two routes they have to gaining an instruction. Going in with a high suggested asking price and the seller says, "Way, I'll go with you," and a very low fee and the seller says, "Way, I'll go with you." So you get an unsaleable, unprofitable instruction. And that's why there's a churn and an increasing churn of stock moving from agent to agent, because the seller has not been persuaded correctly by an agent who knows what they're talking about.
So would you therefore say, I mean, the original question is why can estate agents charge more? Really, the question should have been, why do we charge less?
Why do we charge less? Good. That's a perfect question, because ultimately people can come into the industry. There's a low barrier to entry. They want to get into the market. They don't know anything other than to go in with a low fee. A bit like a petrol station. You know, they've allowed themselves to be a commodity. If you're selling petrol, you might as well go at the lowest price per litre, because how else do you judge petrol? Whereas sorry to interrupt, but in South Africa, there a couple of weeks ago, and buying petrol there is a pleasure, not just because it's £1 a litre, but when you go in there, they're very good at prospecting. So there's a guy standing on the roundabout waving at you, saying, "Come on in, do you want?" Pointing at his filling station. "Come on in," and you check your dial. Normally I wait till it's on red, but you go in. He's inviting you to buy petrol there. You don't have to get out of your car. You wind the window down. Somebody greets you, asks how your day's going, asks you what petrol you want, fills up with petrol. He's got the hydraulic thing there, so he does the pneumatics on the tyres as well. Somebody else will do the tyres. They'll check your oil. They'll wash your windscreen, check your windscreen wiper fluid, bring the credit card reader to your window and send you off and wish you a happy day. And it is a pleasure. And petrol prices are fixed in South Africa, so they have to go on the service level. So they've allowed them, they are a commodity, and estate agents have allowed themselves to become a commodity. So you have to bundle down on the service and the persuasion, not the price.
I mean, it was only this morning that I was reading on social media that someone was saying, you know, I'm having a trouble with fees, and they did actually mention your name. This sounds staged, it isn't, and you know, how do you prove that you're worth more money?
How do you persuade the client that you're worth more money is part of it. It's knowing how to persuade in a wholly professional way.
Yeah, not with good intent.
Yeah. I mean, our role is, and I'd say this is a definition of our role. Our role is to help people make decisions that are genuinely in their best interests, which without our involvement, they might have had difficulty making. So that's our role. But there are so many angles on this. Most of it, though, is not just about persuasion.
Because you train people, and again, you don't know this, is boys and girls watching this, this guy's shit hot when it comes to getting your fees up. Sorry, you didn't know that was coming. But honestly, you know, whenever agents are saying I'm in trouble with my fees, your name is always mentioned.
Oh, that's very good. I'm so passionate about it.
Okay,
but
give us to us. I know you can't give everything away, but give us some top tips in the next couple of minutes.
I want my agents to be as passionate as I am about their fee, for their fee themselves. So when they go, it's persuasion, but it's also their self-assurance, their confidence level themselves.
Do you think the biggest problem...
The mindset is in the agent's mind. When the client phones up and says, how much do you charge? The agent thinks, oh God, here's someone who's got a problem with the fee. We better go in low or we won't get the business. So immediately they're thinking, fee, problem, we better go down low. Whereas when the client's saying, they're phoning, how much do you charge? They don't know what else to ask. It's an obvious opening question. What they really mean is, hello agent, I've seen you around, I quite like your style, we're thinking of moving, can you come in please and have a chat to us about a moving house. But how much do you charge is just an entry question. They're not rejecting you, they're just asking. And the agents who in one way or another say, not telling, can we discuss it when we meet, more often than not, they say fine. Thereby proving that the fee is not an issue from the outset. And
some stats to back that up. In the last Property Academy survey, only 10% of homeowners said the agent with the lowest fee.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the issue is with us.
Yeah.
So this comes down to training and, more importantly, development of how to get that voice out of your head and put a good voice in your head.
Absolutely. I mean, there is that, and we spend a good couple of hours on that, interestingly enough. But then we have 80 or 81 dialogues, so the agent can go in feeling they've got a whole armory. Whatever that client says, they've got the words to say to defend it. And you've got to be persistent as well. I mean, the research suggests that about persistence, that if you defend your fee 5 times, there is a 60% chance that the client will go for it. And that's the ones who defend it in the first place. The other day I had an agent who'd just been on the course. They were a 1% agent. They decided, I suggested they go in at 2%. The first one they went on, they went to 2%, and they told me afterwards, and the lady said, oh, that's very reasonable. It's in our mind. It's in our mind. It's not in the public's mind.
Because we're almost, we want everyone to love us. This is estate agents. I'm sure you see it in different type of personality types abroad, but we want everyone to love us, and we fear the rejection.
Yeah. Do we want to be loved or respected, though? Because some interesting research was done, and if you haven't read the Challenger Sale by Brett Adamson, you really should. Because what this says is that it's not about relationships. Strangely enough, you'd think that you want the person to love you, you want, and have a good relationship, and you'd think that was the number one thing, but it is for most agents. But for the top performing top performing agent, only 7% are regarded as natural relationship builders. The rest are challengers. 39% of the top agents are challengers. So you've got to be charming, you've got to be the expert, combine charm, expert, and close, and you're 3/4 of the way there.
Yeah, I think Benjamin Dennehy, the UK's most hated sales trainer, said, it's not a case of getting people to like you, it's getting people to trust you.
Yeah.
And he says, it's all about, like you said, building credibility. He says you build credibility by the questions you ask, not the statements you make.
Absolutely. You should listen to, not to respond, but listen to understand, first and foremost. And there are plenty of agents. I mean, there's one in London, we can't name it, begins with F and rhymes with Oxtons. And, they're not popular in the public's, where people mention, Foxtons, and yet they're really successsul. People want Foxtons to do their work because they employ forthright agents who tell it as it is. And what I want my clients, my agents, what I want them to when they leave a meeting with a marketing proposal meeting with a client, I want that client to be thinking, whoa, I wasn't expecting that, but it kind of makes sense.
Indeed.
I don't just want soft, fluffy stuff.
Yeah, it's not about getting people to like you. It's getting people to respect you, and people will pay more if they respect you.
Absolutely.
And you do that by asking the difficult questions and listening, not to respond, but listening.
Yeah.
So really, I think, can we conclude that it's not a case of other countries charge more, it's just that we don't train and develop ourselves, so therefore we can't charge that extra fee.
In many ways, we don't know what we're doing in some respects in terms of how to conduct this fee thing. Please get trained on this, because your fee will rise.
And I can concur with that, ladies and gentlemen. I know plenty of people that have been on Richard courses, and this is not a promo for Richard. It is, but it isn't. Do check him out. He's fantastic. Thanks, Richard.
Thanks, Chris.